It was an awful launch experience, and that in Microsoft's very own words. This comes from Jörg Newman, head of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, in the most recent Q&A with the developer from the live stream, this was delayed from last week. It went ahead just a few days ago, and Microsoft went into great detail as to what went wrong with the launch and how things are going to be progressing over the coming months and perhaps the coming years as well. Now, what I kind of liked about this, and don't get me wrong, I wasn't happy at all about the launch, just as with many people. What was really interesting is how down-to-earth Jörg Newman was about all of this. Very, very apologetic, definitely very sincere about all of this, and his apology completely lacked all the normal, typical PR spin and the nonsense we'd normally expect to see from a company. It was very genuine and heartfelt. Now, for some of you out there, that may not make much of a difference. To me, it does make a difference. Although, that said, we get bad game launch after bad game launch, but when someone is this genuine, it's obvious that they do want to get things fixed and that they weren't happy that players, that simmers, went through all that upheaval. At any rate, Microsoft are now moving past this. They're starting to address the various different issues that are still ongoing. Also, worth mentioning here, as a way of apology, the next planes that are going to be released, and there are a variety of planes, you may be aware that every time there's a big patch update, they're usually accompanied by a brand new plane, a paid plane at that. Now, the next 4 releases are going to be free because of this, and this is Microsoft's way of apologising for all of these issues. So, let's start with what went wrong. Now, we'll know that to some extent this was server issues, but I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding here initially. It wasn't directly the Flight Sim servers themselves. Instead, it was the CDN servers. These are the Content Delivery Network. It's a layer between the main servers and the clients. These are responsible for distributing the various data around the world. They keep everything supposedly balanced and free to be distributed where they need to go. Now, because of the extremely high traffic on the launch day, the Content Delivery Network simply couldn't keep up. At one point, the team say they saw 100 billion package requests on the first day. They did keep increasing capacity, but it turns out that wasn't sufficient. So in the end, they switched to an entirely different Content Delivery Network, an entirely different CDN setup. And it's at that point that all the logon areas and the various other related network problems were resolved. But that brings us to today. There are, of course, still a lot of bugs. There are still a lot of bugs with the game. Now, people are experiencing a lot of problems all throughout the game, whether that's in career mode, which can be very problematic for different people, or indeed many other problems dotted throughout other areas of the game. Now, some of these have been addressed in the initial patches that have been released so far. Next week, bigger patches come in. This will be coming between the 12th and the 10th and 12th of December. Although very few details, very little details in fact, on what this patch is going to contain, other than we know that the wind and turbulence in career mode is going to be fixed in patch 3. The Cessna 172 classic electrical systems is also going to be fixed in that patch as well. There's some airport lighting issues that are dotted all around the world, quite frequent in fact, you'll notice these. Microsoft say generic airports are okay, custom edited lights are fixed. Larger issues are there with worldwide night lighting differences, which still needs more work, and possibly a future baking in of night textures. Some of this, however, is going to be fixed in patch 3. Also, coming in patch 3 is going to be the ability to unselect stream packages in My Library. So yeah, that's a few things that we know is coming, but hopefully there's going to be a load of other fixes in there as well. Again, this patch is coming between the 10th and 12th of December. It's currently in certification. Now, one subject which has frequently come up, I've seen it in the comment section of my own videos, and it's something that Microsoft did address, and this is the nature of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. The fact that it is now a streaming game, that a very small amount of the game is actually stored on your computer. It's just around about a 30 to 50 gigabyte install. Keep in mind that the previous version of the sim, Microsoft Flight Sim 2020, was well over 100 gigabytes, so this is a massive reduction. So why is it all streamed? Well, it turns out that the entire client to be installed would actually require 1.4 terabytes. And that's just for the standard edition, including all the packages. What's more, that doesn't include the world data, which totals to 3 petabytes. That's 3 million gigabytes of data for the world. So yeah, just the game itself, just the packages would require a 1.4 terabyte install. Microsoft say that even with the best connection you could possibly get, this would require around about 25 hours to download. And that's largely because there are some bandwidth limitations on how much they allowed you to download in one go anyway. So even if you had like a 1000 gigabit connection, you simply won't be able to download at max speed. So yeah, these two factors, 1.4 terabyte install and massive download times, the main reason they went to streaming, because this allows downloading only what's needed when needed, and that reduces down the initial setup time. In terms of current bandwidth being used, on average, Microsoft say that during the first 3 hours, around about 18 gigabytes is streamed in for most people. Rolling cache data can also be used to reduce bandwidth usage over time by increasing the size of the rolling cache, allowing you to retain some of the data for the areas you frequently visit. Now, there are some plans for offline options in the future. I mean, it sounds like Flight Sim's never going to be fully offline, but yeah, they do want to allow some further options to allow you to store certain content locally. And this would be the ability to include certain aircraft, airports, and other such things, which would then reduce the streaming requirements. Moving on to the in-sim marketplace. The marketplace is currently offline. We've spoken about that before, largely due to the fact that not all of the add-ons have been fully tested and some of them are not currently compatible, and that's all being worked through. And Microsoft have said that the marketplace is planned to come online in early 2025. And then we come to the plans for 2025. Now, this is something that Jörg Neumann said he was unsure as to whether to discuss during this particular live stream, because obviously with all the various live issues, the launch issues rather, many people probably feel that planning for the future is a little bit redundant when there's so many things to be fixed. And Jörg did address this. Again, he apologised at this point, saying that of course there are a lot of bugs, they're well aware of that, and all of these need to be fixed. But that doesn't stop them from planning for the future either. They hopefully can do both at once. So, Brazil, that is the next world update. It was intended to be released in December 2024. It was actually planned to be released this week, but that's now been postponed to January or February. It's going to include 10 photogrammetry cities, 7 handcrafted airports, and of course all the associated terrain improvements that will come for those particular regions. The full plans for 2025 include 4 world updates, 2 city updates, multiple local legends and famous flyers, which we know the 4 initial ones are going to be free, then 1 large sim update per quarter, and 2 surprises, which as yet haven't been announced. In fact, pretty much every year Microsoft do have 2 surprises that they revealed during the year. So there we have it. Those are the highlights from the latest developer Q&A. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching this video. I'll catch you next time, and do take care.